The opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of Eastlink Community TV, its sponsors, or partners.
Good evening and welcome to Island View on Eastlink Community TV. I'm Matt Beardsley. Glad you could join us tonight, and welcome to our special PEI Burger Love wrap-up show. Well, as many of you may know, PEI's best known and most loved food campaign, PEI Burger Love, returned this April after a one-year absence with a couple of changes. This year, PEI Burger Love was taken over and run by Anderson House. And joining me now to discuss this year's campaign is Danya O'Malley, Executive Director of Anderson House. It's a real pleasure to welcome her back to the program tonight. Danya, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Matt.
And I should mention that a little later in the show, in the third segment, we will reveal the winner of this year's Most Loved Burger. So stay tuned for that. All right, I just want to go back to the beginning a little bit here. And before we get into PEI Burger Love and all the exciting details about how many burgers sold and crazy pictures of creations, for those who aren't familiar with Anderson House, who are you folks and what do you do?
So Anderson House is an emergency shelter for women and children fleeing violence. We started originally in 1981 when a group of concerned citizens got together and asked themselves what can be done for women experiencing violence on PEI. So we've been around for over 40 years now, and I've been with the organization a long time, almost 16 years, but I've only been director for about the last 7. And so we steadily expanded throughout the 90s to include outreach. So we are a provincial organization. We have outreach offices in O'Leary, Summerside, Charlottetown, and Montague. And we might see 70 or 80 families a year through the shelter, but we might see 300 or 400 families a year through our outreach. And Anderson House is also a provincial shelter, but it might not be convenient for somebody who, say, lives in Alberton, whose children go to school there or they work there, to come to Charlottetown to stay in a shelter. So that's why our outreach service is so important. It allows people to access services within their home community.
Okay, now we'll make that transition to Burger Love. And again, for people watching who maybe have recently moved to PEI and wondering what was going on last month with all these signs about PEI Burger Love, perhaps for our viewers, just sort of a Coles Notes version on the history of the campaign and how it's run for the past few years.
Sure. So the campaign was started by Rob and Melody Dover, who run Fresh Media, and they are a marketing company. And they started off just personally doing a bit of a tour on PEI, trying burgers in a number of different restaurants, places they hadn't been before. And this gave birth to the idea that this could be a marketing campaign for restaurants at a time of year where restaurant patronage is somewhat lower compared to summer or Christmas. And so they launched the campaign, and it has steadily grown since. I remember once where it had reached 30 or 31 burgers. And so there was like that buzz that you could have one a day. You know? We've come a long way.
Yes.
And so the campaign ran, and in its 10th year, I believe it was his 10th year, in 2019, they decided to approach us to ask if we would like to be the recipient of the give back portion of the burger campaign. And so restaurants had the opportunity to participate and charge $1 extra per burger, and that money would be donated to a community organization. And so we started that year. It was a very successful year. It was like Burger Love 10. But of course, 2020 came and ruined everything. And so I believe there was no Burger Love that year, and it was actually 2021 that it was takeout only, which, I mean, the whole premise is the joy of getting together and getting out there and celebrating. And so they decided to take a year off last year. Melody was very public about her chronic pain, her health issues, and needing to take a step back and concentrating on their other clients, their other work. And so they approached us and asked us if we would like to take over running the campaign. And so that was an easy yes. And we do really have the capacity to do that, because we've never really bounced back in terms of events after the pandemic. Like, everything kind of was paused, and we had never really decided what direction we were going to go in. There's still a couple of things that we run, like the mom-to-mom sales twice a year. but we didn't really have any other big events. So this became, okay, we can do this. And so we did it.
And obviously stepping into a big campaign, and I know after a year off, you sometimes worry that something that had so much groundswell behind it. And of course, during COVID, I think one year it was in September, and it was always in April, and there was a lot of changes and things like that. So, people were happy to have it back in April. But I know there was some changes in terms of the Give Back Burger, because this year I think all the burgers were Give Back Burgers.
That's right. Yeah, everything really changed. So when they were deciding whether or not to bring it back, Rob and Melody talked about what was most loved about the campaign. And so the celebration of local and giving back to the community were definitely like the front and center aspects that they wanted to preserve. And so the giving back to the community, what they decided, instead of having restaurants be able to elect to be part of Give Back, all of the burgers would be Give Back burgers, and $1 from every burger sold would be donated to the organization. And that was done in lieu of a registration fee. And so this is really great. In effect, it prorates the registration fee for restaurants. If they sell a lot of burgers, they give a lot of money. If they don't sell a lot of burgers, it's less, and that's fair. Yeah.
And obviously this year, a record 88 burgers, 90 locations. So obviously there was a lot of excitement to become back involved. And when you look back to the end of March, getting ready for April, what was, any lessons learned? What was the excitement like getting ready to take over such a popular campaign?
I mean, I was really impressed with how excited the restaurants were, how excited the sponsors were. It had a really good feel leading up to it, even from the very get-go when we were recruiting restaurants. Word started traveling around that it was coming back, and restaurants were already saying, "Hey, I'm in." And so that really gave us a lot of wind in our sails to put it together.
What did you enjoy most about being involved with this? I know that at the very end of the show, we'll get to the Give Back Burger total, which is obviously, a part of the reason why you're involved. But was there anything else that really stuck out for you?
You know what? What I really liked was delivering the guides.
Yeah, I know, that's a huge part.
Which is really funny because they've gone out in various other ways before. And this year we had 5,000 printed, and then there was going to be no specific way that they were given out. So we sort of made that plan. I had big boxes in my car. I dropped some everywhere I went, and the joy with which people accepted them, the feedback I got about the organization, that's a good focus group of information, people thinking that you're a valuable investment. That's wonderful. And so everywhere I went, I brought a handful of them and often asked businesses, put these in your staff room, and people were very excited. Sort of towards the end of the campaign, I was at the Summerside Library, doing some work in Summerside. And I was like, do you guys want to put these in your staff room? They were like, oh, they opened it right out. They were looking at it, talking about places they wanted to go. And it was just, that really gave me an on-the-ground feel for people's feelings about the campaign. And so if I hadn't been delivering those guides, I might not have had that information.
Okay, we'll continue our conversation with Danya O'Malley, Executive Director of Anderson House, in just a moment. You're watching our special PEI Burger Love wrap-up show. Stay tuned. You're watching Island View on Eastlink Community TV. Welcome back to Island View on Eastlink Community TV. I'm Matt Beardsley. Thanks for staying with us as we continue our special PEI Burger Love wrap-up show. My guest is Danya O'Malley, Executive Director of Anderson House, the fine folks who brought you PEI Burger Love this year. Before I move into the campaign, some of the highlights, I just want to touch back to your experience delivering I guess what we call them, the burger guides. Now, obviously, in your role as executive director, you get out a fair bit into the community, but probably not as widely, or correct me if I'm wrong, as you would have been, as you said, delivering all these, the fold-outs and getting to speak to people, face to face, maybe for the first time. What did did people have questions to you about what you did aside from Burger Love, or?
Yeah, so it was really great, actually, getting out there. I am sort of external to the organization a lot, but it tends to be with the same team of players all the time. I interact with an awful lot of other service providers and organizations, but with this, I was meeting people all over the place, everywhere I went. I would have a chance to talk to them. And so it was a very different group of people. I met a lot of new people. And the feedback on the campaign and on the organization was just really, really heartwarming and made me feel like it was a really good use of my time.
All right, we'll move back into some of the highlights, and so many different things have to come together, and a lot of people have to support these things to make it happen. And we'll sort of start with the sponsors, and we'll bring up a slide here that shows all the sort of major sponsors. But just a word about all the people who stepped back in to help make this such a success.
So the sponsorship was really important because there were no registration fees for the campaign. Yeah. And so we didn't have a pool of money to draw from for things like the graphic design or the design of the guides, printing of the guides. And so the sponsors were really crucial. And so we started approaching them even before Christmas to see what we could get together, because we needed to know how much money we were working with to know whether we would be able to support the campaign. And so we had a record number of sponsors, definitely very much appreciated. We got very close to about $40,000, which is essentially what the campaign costs to put on. And so that means that we don't have to draw money from the money raised in order to put the campaign on, which we find that's really important, obviously.
And I should mention briefly that Eastlink was excited, apart from our involvement here in Highland View, to sponsor the Local Up campaign again, and congratulations to the 4 winners of that. And I know, in speaking with our folks at the retail outlets at the 2 malls in Charlottetown, Summerside, that was a spot where the foldouts were dropped off, and they always, and I remember speaking, I think it's Brianne who runs the mall here in Charlottetown, and she said they're always shocked at how quickly they go out the door and how excited people were to see them. So we were excited to be back involved once again. And you talked about early buzz and wondering, okay, it's been gone for a year. People are going to be excited, but as you got ready into March and kicked things off in April, what was sort of the buzz like?
So people were excited. People were talking about it already. People wanted to know what kind of burgers were going to be on offer, what restaurants were participating. And so we got a lot of questions that we weren't really able to answer in the beginning. But that really showed us that people were interested and that it was probably going to be a very successful campaign.
And there's always a couple of really interesting things. And people who have followed PEI Burger Love for a number of years, there's a well-known PEI Burger Love fan, the Queen of Beef, if you follow her on social media. I think different years she has sampled a great many burgers. This year she sampled 86 of 88 burgers. Excited to see her back?
Yeah, I think it gets a lot of people talking. A lot of people find it very remarkable. It is rather remarkable, and so it was a great piece of news, and apparently 3 of them were good enough that she went back.
I saw that.
And so had a total of 89 burgers. I think a lot of them were probably shared.
Yes.
And that's great. Then people are getting together, and I think that's just really great.
And kids are a big component of this as well. And one particular teacher every year, Mr. Dowling from Ellen Montgomery, he has a little thing, and we'll bring a slide up here so people can see the creation and list of the things involved there. But it's a kindergarten class, and they're always like, they design the burger, and then he's like, I'm going to eat it, and that's what I think the picture is showing. So excited to see these people who were involved before come back again.
Yeah, it's really nice, especially involving kids. Kids might not be a big part of this campaign. I don't even think some of those burgers are the size of a kindergartner's head. And so getting them involved in that way and talking about, what you would use to make up a burger and all of their wacky ideas is really cute.
And one thing that we've seen before, which returned again, sort of kids coloring contests, different schools ran things. How exciting or good do you think it is that you see the campaign not just reach adults who are obviously going out and for a night out, but kids are being educated about food and getting to use all their creative resources to be a part of the campaign, besides maybe taking part in a few burgers?
Yeah, so the kids drawing contest, it was very cute. The drawings were all cute. They're on our social media if you want to check that out. And then there were 3 winners. It was actually Anderson House that sponsored that contest. And so we had $50 gift cards for Indigo for the kids that won, and there was 3 age categories. And so a winner was chosen at random. I really thought that we'd be judging the pictures and picking like sort of the most creative, and then in the end it was random, like just a draw. If you entered, you had sort of an equal chance of winning, and that's fair. And so the parents were really excited when I got to email them.
So obviously you're running the campaign and a lot of different things go into it. Did you and your staff get a chance to, get out and try a couple burgers? Because the month does go by pretty quickly.
Yeah, and we have staff island-wide, and so it's easy for us to get a sampling across the province, and so we have photos up on our socials about, various staff people who've gotten out there, and, I'm in a picture with the owner of Water Prince Corner Shop, and I think the staff of those restaurants were pleased to be part of the extra promotion.
And this is a question I know we sort of didn't discuss, but you sort of talked about it earlier. Like, you usually speak to a lot of the same people about the same issues surrounding Anderson House. I'm wondering, for the rest of your staff, when you're out talking to people, was it nice to be talking about something, very positive and fun, and knowing that the end result was all coming back to help you? What kind of feedback did you get from your staff about being involved in this?
I think they were really excited. I think everybody had a really good feeling about it. They were talking about where they planned to go or where they had been, and they were submitting our photos. I think they were really pleased to take part, and I think that also when they were doing things like talking to the owners of places and stuff like that, the feedback was really positive. And I think that is a really nice, we don't often interface with the public like that.
All right, stay with us. When we come back, we'll have the reveal of this year's most loved burger for PEI Burger Love 2024. Stay with us. You're watching Island View on Eastlink Community TV. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Island View on Eastlink Community TV. I'm Matt Beardsley. Glad you could stay with us for our special PEI Burger Love wrap-up show. I'm joined by Danya O'Malley, Executive Director of Anderson House, and in just a couple of moments, we will reveal the winner of this year's Most Loved Burger for PEI Burger Love 2024. But I just want to circle back briefly before we do that. The campaign is almost official. I don't know when it officially ends. Maybe when we announce the Most Loved Burger. I'm sure there's some, administrative things that have to be wrapped up. But obviously, you went into something with an idea, and then you're sort of at the end. Has the experience of being a part of this from the inside been what you thought it would be, or has it been different?
Yeah, I think it's been what I expected. I mean, it is a ton of work. It's a marathon campaign, and people don't realize it's 4 months of a lot of work, and the month itself is almost the easiest part. It's all the prep that goes into that, and so if you're doing sort of back and forth communication with 90 restaurants, and even as much as like planning your route for when you go and drop off the resource packs, because every restaurant gets a package of like the posters and the tent cards for the tables and all of that, and we deliver all of those by self. And so so we had to make a couple of routes, and plan to go up west and down east and what makes the most sense. And that takes a lot of planning, and you have to be really, really detail oriented and very well organized.
And I'm guessing this probably maybe took you into some communities and restaurants you'd never been before. What was that experience like of maybe talking to some people or going some places that you had never been before and seeing their excitement about being part of the campaign?
Yeah, I had never been to Moth Lane. I had never been to Backwoods Burger, and I've never been to the Stomp and Tom Center down past Skinner's Pond. These were not places I had been before. Of course, I've been up west many times, yes, but not to those specific locations. And Moth Lane especially, oh my God, it's so beautiful there, and it's so tucked away. You wouldn't happen upon it unless you were specifically going there. And so to get out to these places was really nice. And our development coordinators who did the down east portion, and there's a lot of really, really great restaurants. And I think there were a lot of people who went to restaurants that they'd never even heard of over the campaign, and that's really great.
Safe to say you wouldn't have gotten to some of these places if not for your involvement with PEI Burger Love, perhaps?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not sure. It's really hard to say. It's definitely part of a new era.
Okay, so we've come to the special moment. We have a plaque here, which Danya will grab in just a moment, and then she will announce the winner of this year's Most Loved Burger, and I'll let you give away the exciting details there. The burger is not on the plaque. We'll bring in a slide here to show folks, but you can let people know who the winner of this year's Most Loved Burger is.
Yeah, so the winners get this plaque that says Most Loved Burger 2024, and the winner this year is the Seafood Shack for their burger called the Shack Attack.
And we have a list of the ingredients.
We do have a list of the ingredients. Okay, so the Shack Attack contains 2 3-ounce Island beef smash patties, Bold Island whiskey cheddar, creamy Havarti, crisp candied pork belly. Oh, I love all the candied meats. House-made salt and pepper micro frite, garlic aioli, tangy sweet and sour barbecue sauce, fresh green leaf lettuce, and tangy pickled red onions, served on a toasted brioche bun, garnished with the Seafood Shack's signature lobster wonton.
Ooh, now
I know, it's got like this little bow on top, like it's just very cute.
So congratulations to the folks at the Seafood Shack in Morel. The Shack Attack, the winner of this year's Most Loved Burger. And of course, quite often restaurants will bring the burger back onto the menu. It's not a requirement, but my guess is perhaps the folks at the Seafood Shack will have the Shack Attack back on the menu here very quickly. Okay, so give back burgers. We talked about that was a huge component. And I remember being here when we did the show and Melanie presented you the check for a very large amount of money back in 2019. So you get to reveal the total of how generous Islanders were this year.
So the total raised is $90,179. So an average of about $1,000 per restaurant.
And, you know, sort of generally speaking, you know, where does that funds go?
So the money raised really allows us to broaden the reach of our services. And so we've expanded our services steadily throughout the past few years. And so I'm very happy to be able to continue offering that, offering more and different types of outreach in various communities across the province and making sure that our services are equally available all across the island.
And we have another exciting number to reveal, which maybe I should have done when we come back to start the segment, but total number of burgers sold, and I guess you could maybe do the math from the total of the give back burgers, but the total number of burgers sold this year.
Yeah, so 90,179, that is just crazy. I mean, we did the math. It's about 3,000 a day. 3,000 a day, you know, and that's thanks to the widespread community support. Like, this would not be possible without the work of so many people, the restaurant staff, the restaurants themselves, all the Islanders who got out there and went out for a meal. You know, this would not be possible without all of that coming together.
I know in your role you would know how generous Islanders are and how they reach out to help, you know, people in need. And again, you know, obviously people are going out to enjoy burgers. We all have a nice burger, but I think, you know, in terms of knowing that every burger sold was going to, you know, some funds were going back to support you folks. What would your message be to Islanders who, you know, maybe went out of their way to make a couple of extra trips to help support Burger Love and indirectly you folks this year?
I'm just so deeply appreciative. I think it's an indication that a lot of people are behind our work, are behind what we do, and see us as a valuable place to contribute. And I think that is really, really special. Islanders are known for being very community-minded, and I think it's just really wonderful.
And you spoke about all the people involved. We went through them, you know, sponsors, you know, Rob and Melody at Fresh Dover behind the scenes. I know who were helping you folks out, you know, all the people who were displaying the pamphlets. Just your sort of final thoughts to everybody from all over who was involved in making this such a success after a year off.
I think it's wonderful, and I think the big heroes definitely are the staff of the restaurants.
Yes.
I've heard that it's crazy times, and so I hope that the promotion that they've received, you know, the tips that they've made, and the large influx of money to restaurants at a time where business can be lower, I really think that that's terrific. I think everybody really came together and made this campaign just wonderful.
Danya, really appreciate you taking some time to come in and join us. Congratulations for all the success with PEI Burger Love this year, and of course, continued success with Anderson House.
Thank you.
And again, once again, your winner this year of PEI Burger Love, the Shack Attack from the Seafood Shack in Morel. Congratulations to everybody involved there. Once again, you've been watching Island View on Eastlink Community TV. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock.